The garage was empty. That's how it started. Just an ordinary Tuesday. And my car, my first ever car, the one I'd worked 2 jobs to buy, was gone. I stared at the vacant spot like maybe it was a prank, like Ashton Kutcher might jump out, with a camera crew screaming, "Punked!" But no, just a note on the kitchen counter in Mom's handwriting. "We had to do it, sweetheart. Your sister's in trouble again. Please try to understand." Trouble. That's what my sister Lena always was. Beautiful, magnetic, manipulative Lena, the family's eternal almost success. She'd racked up $14,000 in credit card debt chasing some get-rich-quick scheme in LA, and instead of letting her take responsibility for it like any adult would, my parents sold my damn car behind my back to bail her out. I clenched the paper until it crumpled in my fist. I worked for that car. I yelled into the silence. But nobody answered. Of course not. They were probably comforting Lena again, telling her everything was okay. Meanwhile, I had no way to get to work, to school, to anything. My name is Ava Greene. I'm 23, and I've been invisible in my own family for as long as I can remember. It wasn't just the car. It never is. It was all the birthdays forgotten because Lena was having another crisis. It was all the times Mom told me to be the bigger person, and Dad nodded like a background prop. It was when Lena dropped out of college for the 3rd time, and they still talked about her potential, while I quietly graduated magna cum laude, with 0 applause. I didn't tell them when I got accepted into the prestigious marketing development program at Westrow. I wanted one thing that was just mine. It was the kind of opportunity people waited years for. 1 year in the program, and you were guaranteed job placement at a 6-figure starting salary. Only 18 people in the country were selected, and Lena had been rejected from it 2 years ago. But now I had a decision to make. "You should have told us you applied," Mom said when she overheard me on the phone with the Westrow coordinator. She acted like I'd confessed to robbing a bank. "You knew Lena wanted that spot so badly. She worked so hard," I laughed, out loud. "You mean she posted TikToks about working hard? I actually did the work." Dad didn't look up from his coffee. "Let's not turn this into another competition." "It's not a competition if I win," I snapped before I could stop myself. Lena walked in wearing my hoodie. My expensive hoodie. Her eyes darted to me. "Why are you being such a—" "Say it," I dared her. "After everything you've taken from me, say it." She didn't. She just rolled her eyes and said, "Whatever, I wouldn't want to work at a stuffy corporate place like that anyway." But I knew she was lying. I could see it in the way her voice cracked, in how she avoided my eyes. So I made a plan, not just to take the job, but to take something bigger. A week later, I had my final interview with the Westrow board. It was a private Zoom call. I sat in the upstairs guest bedroom at my aunt's place, since I had to move out after the car situation ruined my commute, and nailed every answer with practiced poise. After the call, the coordinator smiled warmly. "We're incredibly impressed, Ava. The spot is yours officially. We'll be sending relocation details and your onboarding packet." I thanked her with a calm voice, but my fingers trembled on the mouse. Then I did something petty. Something I don't regret. I created a fake listing, mimicking the Westrow internship, but just slightly altered. I even bought a domain to make it look legitimate. I listed the requirements, including an option to submit a priority application for a small processing fee. Then I sent it to Lena from a dummy email. She applied within 45 minutes, and I watched, sipping my coffee, as my sister paid $200 to apply to a job I already had. Lena stormed into the kitchen 2 days later, phone clutched tight in her hand, mouth pinched like she'd bitten into something rotten. "Can you believe this?" she hissed, waving her phone at Mom and Dad. "West Row just ghosted me after I paid the stupid application fee, and the website's down now." Mom furrowed her brow. "That doesn't sound like them. Are you sure it was the real site?" "I double-checked," Lena snapped. "It looked legit. I even paid for priority review like they asked." Dad looked uncomfortable. "Well, maybe email them again." "I already did." She cut him off, tossing her phone onto the counter. No response. I stood in the doorway, arms folded, watching the scene like it was theater. Lena, panicking. Mom, worrying. Dad, useless. All of them reacting exactly how I expected. "How much did you pay?" I asked, tone deliberately neutral. Lena turned toward me. $200. It's not about the money. It's the principle." I raised an eyebrow. "That's funny. You don't usually care about principles. Or money." Mom shot me a look. "Ava, don't." "What?" "I'm just saying, she scammed other people plenty of times. Guess karma got bored waiting." Lena's eyes narrowed. "What's your problem lately?" "My problem?" I laughed. "Oh, you mean besides my car being sold without my consent to pay off your mess?" Dad stood. "We already talked about that. Let's not go backward." I met his eyes for the first time in days. "We never talk about anything. You three decide, and I'm just supposed to be okay with it." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was revealing. That night, Lena stomped around the house, slamming cabinet doors and muttering to herself. I ignored her. I was busy packing. Westrow sent me the official offer letter. Full relocation coverage, a furnished apartment near their San Francisco headquarters, a starting stipend of $4,800 per month during training. I printed the letter and folded it neatly into a manila envelope. Then I addressed it to myself. Left it open on the kitchen counter. I wanted them to see it. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen and found Lena standing over the envelope, unmoving. Mom was beside her, reading. Dad sat with his hand on his forehead like the weight of reality had finally started cracking through. "You got in," Lena whispered. I poured my coffee calmly. "Yep." "But she began, then stopped. "When were you going to tell us?" "Would it have mattered?" I asked without looking at her. "Would you have clapped or cried?" Lena didn't answer. Mom stepped forward, her voice thin. "Sweetheart, you should have said something. We could have helped." "With what?" I turned to her, sharp, now. "The way you helped me with my car? Or the way you helped Lena avoid every consequence she's ever earned?" They said nothing. Not a word. "I'm leaving Monday," I said. "They're flying me out." That weekend, I made sure to pack loud. Each suitcase zip echoed like a punctuation mark. I even left the front door open while I loaded boxes into a rideshare van. I wanted them to hear what the sound of departure looked like. Sunday night, Lena knocked on my bedroom door. I didn't answer. She walked in anyway. "I know what you did." I raised an eyebrow. "You'll have to be more specific. The fake listing, the fake site. You made it all up just to mess with me." I didn't flinch. "You've faked entire careers, Lena. A fake job posting shouldn't be that surprising." She stepped forward. You hacked my dream. No, I said quietly, standing. I took back mine. Her eyes welled up with tears. The kind that were real, not performative. But I didn't care. Not anymore. She shook her head. This isn't you. No, I agreed. This is the version of me you built. One boundary at a time. Monday morning, Mom stood by the door holding a Tupperware of muffins. You'll call when you land? She asked softly. Maybe, I said. She held it out. Just take this, please. I took it, not because I wanted the muffins, but because I saw the fear behind her smile. The fear that for the first time, I wasn't coming back. As the cab pulled away, I didn't look back. I stared straight ahead, and for the first time in my life, they were the ones watching me leave. The jet engine roared beneath me as I peered out the airplane window. The city below grew smaller and smaller until it vanished entirely under a blanket of soft clouds. I didn't cry. Not once. Not for the life I was leaving behind. Not for the people who only noticed my absence when it inconvenienced them. San Francisco gleamed when I landed. Bright skies, clean air, and a world that didn't revolve around Lena Greene. The driver held a sign with my name at the arrivals. Gate. Miss Ava Greene, it read. For once, my name was the only one in focus. The West Row apartment was stunning. High ceilings, wide windows, and sleek modern furniture. A welcome package sat on the granite kitchen counter. West Row branded notebooks, a new iPad, a black leather portfolio with my initials embossed in silver, and a note. Welcome to your new future, Ava. You've earned it. I read it 3 times. That night, I walked barefoot across the cold tile floors and stared out over the cityscape, letting the weight of freedom settle on my shoulders. This wasn't just a fresh start. This was mine. Week 1 at West Row was intense. Strategy, boot camps, real-world client simulations, branding labs. But I loved every second of it. My mentors called me sharp, resourceful, fearless. Words I never heard growing up unless someone was describing Lena. I made friends, too. Real ones. There was Marcus, the laid-back product strategist from Boston with a killer sense of humor, and Rima, who could break down a marketing funnel, like she was narrating a TED Talk. One night after our presentation dry runs, Rima leaned toward me over cocktails. You ever feel like people back home don't get it? Like they only see the old version of you? I laughed into my drink. Girl, they don't even see me at all. Yeah, she said, toasting. That part. On Friday, I received an email from West Row's talent development head. They'd been so impressed with my strategy deck that they wanted me to present it at an upcoming closed-door innovation roundtable, alongside senior VPs. The kicker? One of the partners attending the session was part of the exact firm Lena had been groveling to for months. A boutique creative agency in LA that only dealt with high-potential media clients. I sat frozen in front of my screen for a long moment. Then I smiled slowly. Fate was funny like that. I knew Lena had been bragging about a potential brand collaboration with that agency. They're this close to onboarding me, she'd told my mom on speakerphone. All I need is one referral, from someone high up. Well, lucky her. She was about to get my name thrown around in that room after all. 2 days before the roundtable, I called home for the first time in weeks. Mom answered like she'd been sitting by the phone. Ava, oh, thank God. We were starting to worry. I'm fine, I said. I just needed space. There was a pause. Then, we miss you, sweetheart. I know. I heard movement on the other end. Lena's voice filtered in faintly. Is that her? Ask if she's heard anything about Westrow hiring creatives. Mom's voice lowered. She's been a bit lost without you. I smiled to myself. Tell her I'll be in touch soon. Then I hung up. The day of the round table. I walked into the boardroom in a tailored navy suit and low heels. My hair curled softly at the edges. The Westrow portfolio with my initials gleamed under my arm. As I presented, I watched the heads nod, the pens scribble. The occasional approving glance passed between execs. I spoke clearly, confidently, like every word had been earned. After the session, a tall, sharply dressed man from the agency Lena had obsessed over approached me. That was impressive, he said. You have a very intuitive approach. Have you ever considered creative directorship? I tilted my head. Not yet, but I know someone who has. He raised an eyebrow. Someone close? I smiled. Very. I handed him my card, knowing exactly what I was doing. Let me know if you ever want to talk more, he said, slipping his own card into my hand. I will, I said. Oh, and if someone named Lena Greene reaches out, you might want to ask her where she got her portfolio concept from. He looked intrigued. Should I be expecting trouble? No, I said, sliding my sunglasses on. Just déjà vu. Back at my apartment that evening, my phone buzzed. Lena, did you seriously bring me up at your job? I just got a call from that agency, and they said you were in the room. What the hell, Ava? I stared at the message, then typed back. Me. That's right. I was in the room, and you weren't. 3 unread messages. Lena, you think this is funny? You've always been bitter, but this is evil. You cost me a once-in-a-lifetime connection. I didn't reply. Let her scream into the void. She'd never once paused to think about the doors she slammed shut behind her. For me, for others. This time, she simply couldn't believe someone else had the power to close one on her, but I wasn't celebrating. Not yet, because part of me knew Lena wasn't done. She never went down quietly. The following week, the agency executive, Daniel Reyes, reached out again. I looked into your suggestion, he said over the phone, and I'm glad I did. Let's just say some of Lena's projects look remarkably familiar to case studies in our archives. Copy-pasted, in fact. I didn't act surprised. She's been known to repurpose things. He chuckled. That's one way to put it. Then, he paused. Listen, Ava, we've been needing someone like you. Creative, precise, and not afraid to tell hard truths. I'd like to fast-track you into a hybrid role. You'd stay at Westrow but consult with us on branding campaigns. Top-tier clients. I blinked. You're offering me 2 jobs? Consider it 1 job done right, he said. And just like that, everything Lena had been trying to build through smoke and mirrors was being handed to me. Not because I wanted revenge, because I'd earned it. Still, I said something careful. I'm in, as long as we keep things professional. Of course, Daniel agreed. Though between us, I wouldn't worry about Lena reaching out again. We're not fond of copycats. That weekend, I got a FaceTime call. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Lena's face appeared. Makeup smudged, hair up in a messy bun, a half-empty bottle of wine behind her on the table. "I can't believe you did that," she said hollow. "You ruined me." "No," I said calmly. "I revealed you." She stared at me. "You know what Mom said? She said maybe I just need a break, and that I shouldn't give up. She still thinks I'm gonna bounce back." "She always will," I replied. "That's what kills me," Lena muttered. "You did everything right. You never got in trouble. You followed the rules. And still, she calls me the special one." "Why?" Her voice cracked. It wasn't angry. It was confused, like she couldn't wrap her head around the idea that I'd been enough all along. I gave it to her straight. "Because being the special one has nothing to do with truth. It has everything to do with need. They need to believe in you. It justifies all the chances they gave, all the times they let me down to prop you up." She wiped her eyes, laughing bitterly. "I wish I was like you." "No," I said. "You wish you were rewarded like me. But you didn't want to do the work. You wanted the applause without the sacrifice." Her jaw tightened. "So, what now? You're just gonna play boss bitch in San Francisco and pretend we're not family?" I leaned forward, voice even. "You stopped being family when you sold me out and played victim after. This is me setting boundaries." I hung up before she could reply. That night, Mom called. I ignored it. Then came a text. "Mom, I know things are hard between you two, but remember, she's still your sister." I read it 3 times, then replied, "Me. No, she's just your project, and I've outgrown being the collateral damage." The next morning, Westrow's internal newsletter featured my face in a spotlight column. "Meet Ava Greene, changing the game with quiet precision." My inbox lit up. People were reaching out from departments I hadn't even spoken to yet. One exec wrote, "You're exactly the kind of thinker we want shaping our future." And just like that, for the first time in my life, I wasn't the backup plan. I wasn't the reliable one left cleaning up someone else's mess. It was the future. It was Saturday morning, fog curling around the corners of the city like slow-moving silk. I was curled up on my sofa, sipping matcha and editing campaign slides when the buzzer rang. No deliveries scheduled, no visitors expected. I walked to the intercom and pressed the button. "This is Ava," a beat of silence. Then, a voice I hadn't heard in person in weeks. "It's your mother. And your sister." I stood frozen, staring at the speaker as if it had just cursed at me. "We're downstairs." I opened the door 15 minutes later. Showered. Dressed and fully armored. Mom's eyes lit up like she'd expected me to throw myself into her arms. Lena stood behind her, arms crossed, sunglasses hiding what I imagined were tired, puffy eyes. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "We were in the area," Mom said cheerfully. "No, you weren't." Lena flinched. Mom faltered but pressed on. "We thought it would be good to see where you live. Check in. Reconnect." I didn't say you want something. I just stepped aside. 10 minutes, I said flatly. They sat stiffly on my plush white couch, looking entirely out of place. Mom kept glancing around like she was inspecting the life I'd built, mentally comparing it to the modest home she still ruled like a fated queen. Lena didn't say much. I stayed standing. "So," Mom began, "Lena's been going through a lot. That whole agency thing, it really knocked her down. She knocked herself down. I replied. I just stopped being the cushion. Ava, Mom sighed. She's your sister. You already said that in your text. Doesn't change the facts. Then quietly Lena spoke. You really hate me now, don't you? I looked at her. Really looked. No, I don't hate you. I've just stopped needing you to change. That's your job now. Silence. Then, Mom leaned forward and said something I hadn't expected. We're selling the house. That made me blink. What? We're in a little financial trouble, she said. Dad's retirement isn't stretching the way we thought, and, well, we co-signed one of Lena's credit lines last year. It defaulted. I almost laughed. Of course they did. So what does this have to do with me? She cleared her throat. The bank wants a partial repayment before approving a short sale. I thought maybe, with your new job. There it was. The ask. Not congratulations. Not, we're proud of you. Just help us fix what we allowed her to break again. I let out a soft, stunned laugh. So that's why you're here. Not to reconnect. You want a bailout. Mom looked ashamed. Lena said nothing. I walked to the kitchen and pulled open a drawer. Took out the envelope I'd kept from my first stipend, thick with crisp bills. $10,000. I walked back and dropped it on the coffee table. Both their heads snapped toward it. That's yours, I said to Lena. It covers most of what I know you owe, but it comes with a condition. Lena stared, wide-eyed. What condition? You never speak to me again. Not unless it's to tell me you've done something real, on your own. Mom gasped. Ava, no. I cut her off. This is mercy, the kind you never gave me when I needed protection. You let her sell my car. You let her lie. You let her take, and called it family. Lena looked between me and the money. Her fingers trembled. Then she stood. And she left. Without the envelope. Mom stayed behind. She looked tired, older than she had the last time I saw her. For once, she didn't try to lecture. I failed you, she said finally. I met her eyes. You didn't just fail me. You chose her. Over and over. I thought I was keeping the peace. You weren't. You were keeping the illusion. She nodded slowly, her voice breaking. I wish I could go back. I didn't say me too. Because I didn't. I just said, now, you know why I left? After she left, I stood by the window and watched them both disappear into the foggy city streets. They didn't look back. Neither did I. But I left the envelope on the table. Not because I thought Lena would come back, but because part of me hoped she wouldn't. 2 weeks passed. No word from Lena. No calls. No sudden crises. No begging messages. The envelope remained untouched in my drawer, stuffed beneath old receipts and a spare laptop charger. I hadn't thrown it out, but I hadn't offered it again either. I wasn't sure what that said about me, about hope, or about how even when we burn bridges, we still find ourselves glancing back at the smoke. Westrow's Fall Industry Gala was a big deal, the kind that got coverage in Forbes and Adweek, where champagne flowed and venture capitalists roamed in, tailored tuxedos, looking for the next marketing prodigy to back. The invitation came in a white gold envelope, sealed with embossed lettering. Ms. Ava Greene, Featured Guest, Strategic Innovation Division. I stared at the invitation for a long time before texting Rima. Me, galas next week. I'm going. Are you? Rima. Obviously. Already ordered my dress. You better come ready to slay. I smiled. Not the polite kind I'd grown up faking. The kind that meant something. The night of the gala, I wore black silk. Minimalist, sharp neckline, cinched waist. My heels clicked like punctuation marks across the ballroom floor. People turned when I walked in. Not because I was the flashiest, but because I looked like I belonged, and maybe even a little like I owned the place. Daniel Reyes spotted me near the champagne bar and raised his glass. Ava Greene, he said warmly. The strategist who made half our creative team feel underdressed. Don't blame me, I said, clinking glasses. Blame your open bar. We laughed. It was easy, seamless. Until he added casually, by the way, your +1 should be arriving any minute. Blinked. My what? He winked. Didn't you RSVP with a guest? I hadn't. I was sure I hadn't. Then I turned, and my breath caught in my throat. Standing across the room, beneath a golden chandelier, was a man I hadn't seen in 5 years. Eli DeVoe, my ex. The only real love I ever had before everything. Turned sour. We met in college. Dated through graduation. Planned a life in New York together. Until I got offered a scholarship in Chicago, and he didn't want to wait. He called me selfish. I called him small. We didn't talk again. And now he stood there in a charcoal suit, no tie, his dark curls shorter than I remembered. He held a champagne flute in one hand and looked at me like time had folded in on itself. What are you doing here? I asked, when he finally approached. Daniel's my cousin, he said, smiling sheepishly. He said your name and I had to come. I narrowed my eyes. So you crashed? He shrugged. More like, I RSVP'd retroactively. I wanted to be furious. I wanted to walk away. But the ache in my chest betrayed me. We stepped outside onto the balcony, the city sparkling below. The night air was cool, crisp, and kind. You look different, he said after a long silence. Better or worse? Sharper. Like you finally stopped apologizing for being brilliant. I looked at him sideways. And you? Still terrified of women with ambition? He winced. I deserved that. We stood in silence for a while. Then he turned to me, hands in his pockets. I heard about your sister. Of course he had. Our breakup hadn't been just about distance. It had also been about them. How he couldn't understand why I let my family walk all over me. I stopped letting her take things from me, I said simply. And your mom? She's starting to see it now. Maybe. Eli nodded. I always knew you'd get here. I just hated not being around to see it. I looked at him. Really looked. And for the first time, I didn't feel the old wounds anymore. Just the scar and the proof that I'd healed. You can't just show up 5 years later and pick up where we left off, I said quietly. I know. But can I start where we are? We didn't kiss. We didn't promise anything. But we stayed on that balcony until the music faded and the laughter inside died down. And for once, I let myself enjoy being seen by someone who didn't expect me to shrink to fit their comfort. I went home that night with swollen feet, a full heart, and no need to check my phone. Because for once, no one needed saving. The following Tuesday, I received a package. No return address. No company logo. Just a plain manila envelope sitting in my building's front desk drop box, scribbled with my name in thick black ink. Ava Greene. I thought about tossing it. I'd been in too good of a headspace lately to invite more chaos into my piece, but something about the handwriting stopped me. Not because I recognized it, because I almost did. That eerie familiarity that stirs your gut when something buried tries to claw its way back. I carried it upstairs. Didn't open it for hours. Didn't open it until the sun dipped below the skyline and my apartment filled with gold-blue dusk. I sliced the envelope open with a letter opener. Inside, a handwritten note, a single photo, and a check. My breath caught. The note was written in cursive. Slanted, old-fashioned, careful. Dear Ava, you don't know me, but I've known of you since you were born. Your father made a mistake a long time ago, one he buried, one your mother forgave in silence. I was the mistake. You were the consequence. He never told you, and I respected that. Until now. Because you deserve to know where you came from. You deserve to know that you were never less than anyone. You were never second best. You were just the only one who wasn't part of the plan. The check is what I could manage. I don't expect gratitude. Just perhaps someday, peace. The photo was of a younger man and woman. Early 90s, maybe, standing on a pier. The woman was holding a toddler in her arms. Me. My eyes. My cheeks, my lopsided baby grin. But the man wasn't my dad, and the woman wasn't my mother. I sat in stunned silence, the letter trembling in my hands. I wasn't a full sister to Lena. I wasn't his daughter. Not biologically. It explained so much. Why Lena always came first. Why I felt more like an obligation than a treasure. Why Dad's affection felt forced, like he was fulfilling a duty rather than embracing a child. I opened the check last, almost. Numb now, $18,000. Made out to Ava Greene, signed Riley Vaughn. I had no idea who he truly was, just that he was part of me. Blood, history. A ghost with a pen. I didn't call anyone that night. I didn't cry either. Instead, I pulled out the family photo albums from the bottom shelf of my closet, the ones Mom gave me when I moved, the ones I hadn't dared open. Page after page of birthday hats, holiday dinners, forced smiles. I flipped to my third birthday. There was a group photo. Me, Mom, Dad, Lena, a balloon spelling 3. But Dad wasn't holding me. He was holding Lena. Mom held me, and something about her smile now looked like pain. The next day, I made a decision. I booked a flight, one way, to the town where Riley Vaughn lived, according to the routing number on the check, an old banking address from Yuba County, Northern California. I didn't want to confront anyone. I just wanted truth, not for vengeance. For myself. To stitch shut the wound I didn't even know had been bleeding all along. As I zipped up my suitcase, my phone buzzed again. Lena. Saw Mom crying today. What did you say to her? I stared at the screen. The nerve. Then I typed back. Me. Nothing yet, but I will. The bus ride from Sacramento to Yuba County felt like a time machine. Each passing mile took me further from sleek glass buildings and back into forgotten roads, where rusted fences lined. Fields and names meant more than resumes. The address I tracked down through public records led me to a modest one-story home tucked behind a sycamore tree. The paint peeling, the porch steps uneven. I stood across the street for 5 full minutes. Then I knocked. The door creaked open, and there he was, Riley Vaughn, 60, maybe 65, salt and pepper beard, eyes like mine. He looked at me with a sadness that had clearly been rehearsed 1,000 times in the mirror. "You must be Ava," he said. I didn't nod, didn't smile, just said, "Yeah." He stepped aside and let me in. The living room smelled like cedar and old books. Framed photos lined the mantel, graduations, fishing trips, a woman with gentle eyes and salt blonde hair. His wife? Gone now, I guessed. Nothing recent. I sat in the chair across from his recliner. My voice didn't tremble when I asked, "Why now?" Riley leaned forward. "Because I was dying from regret more than anything else. I've watched you live from a distance for years. Your mom made it clear she didn't want you to know. So you respected that." "I did," he said, until I realized I was using her silence as a shield for my own cowardice. I swallowed hard. "So my mom had an affair?" "No," he said quickly. "It was more complicated than that." He stood and pulled a weathered box from a hallway closet. Inside were letters, dozens, all addressed to Eleanor Greene, my mother. She was 18. I was 21. We were in love, but her parents hated me. Thought I'd ruin her chances at college. She left for university. We wrote for a while. Then one day, silence. He handed me one of the letters. "Your mom never replied to this one," he said, "written the same month I was born. She married someone else," I said quietly. Riley nodded, and I figured she moved on. So I didn't press, didn't find out until much later that she was pregnant. He sighed, hands folded tightly. Then she was married to your father, and I didn't want to upend your world." I looked down at the check in my purse. "You didn't. I just wanted you to know I exist," he said. "That someone out there didn't abandon you. He just wasn't told you were his." I left 3 hours later. We didn't make promises, didn't pose for photos. But when I stood at his door, Riley put a hand on my shoulder. "You're extraordinary, Ava. I wish I could say I had something to do with that. But that's all you." I nodded, the lump in my throat too thick to speak. And when I walked down those porch steps, I felt something lift off my chest. Not closure, but clarity. Back in San Francisco, I didn't go home right away. I went to Mom's. She opened the door, in a robe, startled. "Ava?" "I know everything," I said. "Yuba County, Riley, the letters, the photo." She stared at me, her lip trembling. "You were going to take it to your grave," I said. "Weren't you?" "I was trying to protect you," she whispered. "No," I said. "You were trying to protect your story." She didn't argue, and that told me everything. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't cry. I just walked out knowing that for the first time in my life, I belonged to no one else's script. I wasn't the backup daughter. I wasn't the invisible one. I wasn't a mistake or a secret or a favor owed to anyone. I was mine, and I had earned every step of freedom.